Going live. You are live and welcome to Vlog Thursday. This is episode, I don't know, what's the number? 217. Had to look at it. Isn't this dog cute? This is foreshadowing because dogs and things like that. All right, cool. Lots of people here already. Awesome. Hey, you boys and girls. We are live. So hello, people of the internet on here. Recent topic. No, recent video. Twitter equals Reddit. I did a video that addresses the fact that, yes, WireGuard has been temporarily suspended in pfSense because it's going under code review. That's all I really have to say about that topic. That is obviously what people want to know. That's why I did a video on it where you can go comment on it. It's the video posted just before this one. Too long, didn't watch. Don't use WireGuard until it's been code audited. All right, moving on. I just don't have anything else to say on it because there's nothing more to say. I did put a video out for that on the topic. Now, to talk about more interesting things that there's actually something to talk about is smashing the like button. So go ahead and do that while we're here. I'm going to mention that more often so we can get that like button done before the end of the show here. And let's talk about good things and happy things, right? What do you call it? I got distracted. Synology. Thank you, Synology. We'll start out there. Synology and me and my cousin, who some of you know and has to do with dogs. My cousin runs a YouTube channel called Gone to the So Dogs, and she needed some upgrades for all of her video content and a place to put it. So we reached out, and we're working on a project with Synology on this. So, always being fully disclosed up front. And, introducing her to something easy to use. My cousin is not a technical person. She is a YouTuber who runs a family channel called Gone to the Snow Dogs. And so we printed a little 3D dog because I needed a prop because I do not have any dogs, but she does have some beautiful huskies. And that's a big piece of her channel because it's very family oriented around the dogs and her husband and the adventures they go on and things like that. They also do some jeeping, and not everybody knows she's my cousin, but it's come up before. She's been on the channel once before when we built a gaming computer for her quite a while back. Swinging all the way here into 2021, I'm going to go visit her to help her set up a Synology and get it set up. So we figured, hey, why not reach out to Synology and talk about this, because I think it's a good solution because, as I stated, she's not super tech savvy. That's not her forte. She wanted something simple and easy to use. So it'll just another aspect of covering Synology. And so, yeah, I thought it'd be kind of interesting. And so the whole dog thing, yes. So this is the little less than, well, we can't really call this one a fur baby. This is just a 3D printed puppy. So we just wanted a prop to set on the Synology when we were setting it up to remind us who it's for. So that's just something I thought I'd mention. It was worthy of talking about. I will be probably diving into it because my cousin's also a YouTuber. I will talk about use cases that I think people may find interesting. And this topic comes up a lot because, like me and Jay, we did the Home Lab show just yesterday, which, by the way, that's going swimmingly well. The homelab.show is the website that we have for that, which is kind of cool. That is slowly coming along. It currently just has a cat on there because why not? Because we haven't got the website done yet. But the discussion around Synology is people are always looking for easy solutions to kind of remove Google from their life, de-Googlefy their life, use self-hosted services. Now, there's people who are more technical, and I definitely probably am more on that side of that audience, so to speak, into the content I create. But there are people who are less technical, but still want to have all their photos somewhere and have an easier time setting it up. And this is where I think Synology kind of, really fits in that niche. And we talked a lot about that on the Home Lab show. For, advanced users, absolutely. We love all these fancy, more advanced things you can do, and Synology is missing, certain levels of advanced tinkering, but does a good job for people who want to kind of just have it work and not necessarily dive into the underpinnings of things. which is what led to me choosing that and helping my cousin make that choice, so to speak, and how her video workflow is going to go. But it also is going to give me an opportunity to talk about things and with another user of it and kind of discuss, hey, this is how you use a Synology. This is like the use case that is for someone who is less tech savvy, but just kind of wants these things without just going, well, I'll just sign it all up to Google and stick everything in Google. That's not what everybody wants all the time. So, yeah. Did you watch the 45 Drives webinar? I retweeted it, but I have not had a chance to watch the 45 Drives webinar. I am much closer to, I could turn it on now and actually log into it. I got a lot more set up on the 45 Drive system. It's still exactly where it was last Vlog Thursday. This is where it's too heavy to drag. I drag it for show, but it's heavy, and then the text box is in the way. But anyways, yeah, I am getting closer to having my review done. A series of happenstances have delayed it a little bit on my part, not theirs at all. It's actually been a lot of fun to play with. I have it running VM storage. I have it running with some shares. I've been doing a lot more testing, making sure I understand it so I can do an in-depth tutorial on it. And I really like the 45 Drives box. I'm excited about that video. And there's going to be more than one video on it. There'll be a review of the hardware and the software. And I'm going to take the cockpit software, and I started building another Ubuntu machine internally here because I'm going to show that they're using cockpit and they branded it as their Houston system, but it's also still compatible, so you can have a mix of things and kind of create a dashboard for it. I have kind of a lot of use cases I want to dive into for the 45 Drive system because I really like it. I think there's a lot that you can do with it. It's an advanced use case for sure, but a pretty awesome advanced use case and some advanced hardware. I just kind of like the way it builds out. There's something about it that has a lot of charm. It isn't just because they put my name on the front of it. So it's definitely going to be pretty cool. Let's see. Let me scroll back a little bit here. What all do we have? So, was there anything particular for those of you that did watch the 45 Drives that I should be particularly happy about? Also, Nick Glover, I see your says Tom's business videos have meant more to me than you can express. Awesome, very much appreciated there. And awesome, oh, cool. I've helped you with your IT business. I like hearing that. That does make me happy. Cool. So the 45 Drives blooper at the, there's a 45 Drives blooper in it. I'm just going to scroll right to the end of the 45 Drives webinar now. That's my plan. So now you're wanting me to look that up right now to talk about that. That's awesome. I'm going to, I actually, we're working on, behind the scenes here, guys, my plan is to work, and I've talked to the team at 45 Drives. I think they have a lot of great content on their channel, and just because their channel's small, a lot of people don't realize it's there. So I want to bring them on my channel to do some videos and kind of, spread some love back and forth and say, hey, check out some of the videos. They've dove deep into some storage topics because they're experts at it, especially that pops up here and there in the comments, making sure people have a better understanding of some of the distributed storage systems or really large scale storage systems built on like Ceph or Gluster. And that's a expertise that does ring well with the people over at 45 Drives. They do a lot of that type of storage design. So having some channel content back and forth with them, I think is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to get us deep into the storage topic and, really open up all the different options that are out there when it comes to storage, because it's a big market. There's a lot of different solutions and a lot of different scenarios. And it's kind of neat because it's being driven by everything massively getting bigger on the internet. I was hanging out with some friends last night and we got on this deep topic rolling back all the way to the 1990s and where I started my career and how many things have changed and how much of that change was driven by kind of rapid scale. The internet brought us the ability to connect with a lot of people at once, but the tools didn't exist to connect with a lot of people at once. And it's kind of each iteration of, things like, let's throw out MySpace out there. When you have that many people logging in, there's a lot of technology that had to be developed to create a system that allowed that many people to communicate simultaneously. We went from these single node servers to these distributed server systems. And of course, storage on the back end has been keeping up with this as well, because you can create these large scalable websites, but then someone has to put all that data somewhere. So the storage market has grown in the background, and especially, YouTube's a great example of this. When you talk about building any type of large scale video service, you talk about how do you store everything in that large scale video service. So you come swing back right around to the storage topic, and how do you keep it decentralized? And this is the topic I talked about last week with the OVH outage, of how, yes, that data center incident, which is still ongoing, days later, is very devastating to companies that didn't have a plan to get the data put somewhere else so they could start restoring from a backup plan. So yeah, the storage topic is definitely one that's fun to dive into. Oh, they might cut it out via YouTube, that the 45 Drives webinar. I'll have to find it. Don't do that. The 45 Drive stuff is really interesting, though. I see Mac Telecom Networks. Virtualization, 10 gig networking, SSDs are getting cheaper. That is for sure. You've seen my video on WireGuard, but you don't understand it. Good. You're actually in the same boat I am of not understanding it. Yeah, there's nothing to understand. Their code needs to be reviewed. Once the code's reviewed, it'll be reinstated. Something was found in the code. I don't know what. So you err on the side of caution. That's really, there's not anything else to say. Unless you can read C code, because the code is public. The code changes are public. So if you can look at the code changes, you will be able to assess what happened and what changes. So if you look at that code commit and say, all right, this is what they changed, and understand what that means, then you'll understand exactly what needed to be changed. I don't have that skill set, but there's some really smart people that do, and they're looking at it. I'll put our faith in their hands, because that's all we can really do right now. Oh yes, the Synology did send some 8 terabyte Synology branded hard drives, which I believe are Toshiba. So that's definitely interesting. I do not use Security Onion in production, but I do use Security Onion. I've definitely played with it. I have not had the time to make a video on it because it is a very in-depth, extensive project. So it's on my to-do list to do a video on it. I just really haven't had the time. It's kind of an extensive thing to really dive into. It's not an easy topic. Let's just say, writing the whole tutorial for that is a little bit harder. I thought it might be easy. The good news is, and I've referred a few people to this, the folks at Security Onion started a YouTube channel and started breaking everything down into videos. So you can actually get quite a bit of information from their videos, and I found their videos helpful for even me setting things up with the new version of Security Onion. So definitely a really neat project if you want to check it out. It's a fully open source SIM stack, and someone will point out that it's based on CentOS. Follow all their releases and blog posts, because yes, they address the fact that it's built on CentOS. So definitely a fun topic. What do we have here? Any more videos on Huntress going on? I don't need another one because I don't know what else to say. The Huntress works as it did in my very first Huntress review. I covered in my second Huntress review the added features. There hasn't been any more added features since the last version of Huntress, so I'm not sure what to do a video on. Now, I did throw out there about doing some business and process videos, and I'm working on that. Sure, that's a little bit tricky because it's figuring out exactly what someone wants to know or how they want to know it, and turning into a tutorial. I don't mind doing that. I just need some help from my friends here, the audience, and wondering exactly how you want those presented, or what is the aspect that I need to cover to help you understand a process or understand something we do internally. I know I've gotten a lot of people who seem to really like my bidding videos. I'm very happy. That's been very a helpful topic, which is awesome. So that's been I'm going to say put to bed, but at least for the most part, I think I've made enough content around how we bid things to be concise. The how we get customers is always fuzzy because I tell people watch these videos and they're like, all you said was go to these marketing events. I'm like, yeah, or business events and market yourself there. And I'm like, yeah, it is kind of a lot of that. People look for the secrets to marketing, or that there's like there's this hidden spot and they're going to look under something. Oh, that's where all the leads are. They're under this secret forum. No one told me. It's only until you get into the Successful Business Owners Club, they tell you about the secret lead system that is there. It doesn't exist. I hate to break the news to you. There is no secret lead system. It's really just getting out there and constantly meeting people. But it's probably the most popular question is, how do I get clients? And this is one of the first challenges you really face as a new business owner. That is a challenge when you start a business, is getting the clients. People can say, oh, I can start a business because I know exactly how to do those technical things. Awesome. That is the least part of it. This is actually why you run into so many IT space is full of this. Companies that aren't very good at what they do because they're sales heavy and they never bother with the technical knowledge. The sales aspect will get you business faster than the technical aspect with you will. So you could be an incredible, really brilliant, competent technician. That does not equate to customers. You can be a really brilliant salesperson with very low technical skills on the back end, and you'll find you'll probably have more success as a company, and someone's going to beat their head against the wall going, that isn't how it should work. And I'm right there with you. I am right there with you on that one. I'll agree all day. So I am not joining the Huntress event next week. They dive deep into cybersecurity. That is their focus, and they're doing a great idea on. They have solid ideas around it. I have participated in the past. I do not plan to participate in the next one on there. But yeah, definitely awesome. Project relocation, moving a business. And MSP process reports. The onboarding stuff is a little fuzzy. I think I can do a video on the onboarding. It's hard to make it cookie cutter, but there are at least steps and procedures we do to get there that I can cover. It's just the challenge always is onboarding is not one thing for us. It's kind of evaluating, figuring out what they need and taking over how they need to do it. And a lot of just loading our tools on there and start scanning everything and auditing what software do you have and what do you want us to support. I've had some MSPs that tell me the only way they'll onboard a client is if they format and reload every computer in the system. I kind of get why you want to do that. And if you're in certain things, it's difficult. I mean, I get it. Like, that would be ideal. And it's obviously, I know people who are what I refer to as like the rip and replace. They don't care if you installed equipment yesterday. When you get their services, you get their services complete top to bottom, no exceptions. They own everything top to bottom. From a MSP standpoint, that makes a lot of sense because you could certainly do it. If you have a sales team good enough to sell clients on that, yes, that works. That's a harder sell and not how we do things. We don't mind taking over someone else's stack and figuring it out and putting our tools on top of it. It is more challenging to do it that way, and I think it's more interesting. And it comes down to what your business model is. If your goal is just to make the most money, don't listen to me because I'm not the richest person out there. So yeah, I'm not that guy. So that's I thought about doing that video or adding that to my business video where don't just listen to me. And also, I'm not doing this just for the dollars. If you're doing it for the dollars, there are ways to better monetize everything. I could have 3 ad inserts before now. You know, there's ways to monetize YouTube better, to constantly get non-stop sponsors, and you can hear about every mattress company and VPN company every 5 minutes to like you do with all the other YouTubers. I've tried to keep all that to a minimum because my goal isn't to massively monetize everything to the absolute most amount that I can do it. And I run my business much the same way. So it puts for a different perspective on things, just throwing it out there. So just because I do it a certain way, if your goal is different than mine and to squeeze the most money out of it, there may be a better way to do it. Have I looked at ThreatLocker? I have, and I get mixed reviews on ThreatLocker. So I don't know enough about it. I haven't actually used it. I get mixed reviews on the amount of time it takes to manage some of those tools. And of course, the salespeople have their side of it if it's really easy and will lock everything down. The problem I've heard is it doesn't stop everything. So you're back to you spent a lot of extra money and someone still got something through. These are some of the problems of the tools, is figuring out that balance between how much do you spend before how much of it just becomes redundant. And still when something gets through, you're like, wow, our stack had a wholesale cost on the back end. We're spending X dollars way up here and still something got through. At some point, that is a really hard balance to find of how much should you spend, how much tooling should you have. We have SentinelOne, we have Huntress. How many more tools should we add? Crack my back. How many more tools should we add, and what's the point of diminishing returns? Should you have 3 firewalls, 3 layers of firewall? I mean, technically you could do that. You could say, I'm going to put a Palo Alto firewall, a Cisco firewall, and then a pfSense firewall. So there's 3 layers they have to find their way through because that's more secure. That would be really difficult to manage. And the same similar rule is going to apply to setting up the desktops. How many layers do you put on top before there's a point of diminishing returns? That's not a black and white, yes or no binary type answer. It's trying to figure out the best value while, you could charge only so much before the client goes, that just seems like a lot to spend on it, because now it's cutting into their own business for how much it costs to pay you to manage all the tooling on the back end. So yeah, that's a complex topic. I know. This is why those tutorials are not as easy to do. So for people who want certain NIST certifications and want certifications in general, we hand them over to Xavier's company, who can walk them through getting certified for things. We are not a certifier for things like that. We know how to do things within compliance, but someone who goes, I need a SOC audit, for example. We don't do SOC audits. That is something we're going to refer out. This is probably one of those things that a lot of MSPs get caught up in, is trying to be the everything store. You need your car fixed? Call me. Need your plumbing done? Call me. Need your MSP stack done? Call me. They just try to throw it all in there because they want to be Kim, it comes from probably that Richard Branson, that a real entrepreneur says yes to things and figures it out. No, that is, he's a smart guy and a lot of success. I think that's a terrible statement. I think a lot of people buy into that and just say yes a whole lot and then end up just doing terrible jobs at things instead of even considering just farming it out to someone who's competent in that particular discipline. You want to know why some of those wiring jobs look like they do? We've seen IT people who thought they understood infrastructure and wiring, and we've seen brand new builds that look like total garbage, wires everywhere, things not plugged in right, crimps done totally wrong because they don't know how to do it. But they said yes because there was, a $15,000 bid on it. And they're like, yeah, $15,000, say yes to that. It's just one wiring closet, right? It can't be that hard. There's a lot of margin in this. And then they do it all wrong because they said yes. They're an entrepreneur. They said yes and figured it out, but they really didn't. I don't know. I get off my soapbox a little bit on that, but you kind of see it can be a little bit tricky. Nothing stops everything. That's why you need defense in depth. Well, yeah, but how much defense in depth? I mean, that's a cool statement, but that wasn't an action item of how many layers should there be. As many as everybody can afford. Okay, what's that number then? You can see why these are not easy. So, phone companies that mess the cable up. Yeah, there's all kinds of companies. There's a lot of people. Yeah, ThreatLocker is ThreatLocker is a way to whitelist and do application whitelisting. I mean, conceptually, that works really well. The reality of it is, and this is even a challenge we still face occasionally, not as bad as it used to be, but with SentinelOne, is it looks at all the running applications and it's going to say, this one looks really suspicious. And like, it's not suspicious. It's Chrome. It's updating. Stop. So quit bothering me about this Chrome update or QuickBooks update. And that's the challenge. The more diverse software your clients are running, the more you get tripped up with, especially updates that things like ThreatLocker don't understand. And when they don't understand it, they flag it as it can't run. So it's creating a balance of how many tickets will be opened because of this and how much time do you have to spend re-waitlisting something. And if your internal team ends up kind of exhausted from doing this so much, will they accidentally say yes to something because they're so used to saying yes so many times a day? You kind of get this decision exhaustion that can take place that you don't want to take place, where something may get whitelisted. There's a balancing act that's, I'm just being as honest as possible. This is why those answers aren't not, as I said, black and white or binary, where you can say yes or no. This is the answer to that question. Any plans for how they got hacked? Xavier took a break. That's I don't have an answer to when he wants to come back to doing content creation. He has taken a break from content creation in general, and he's not posting much on his channel either. Me and him talk. He's still doing well. Life is good over at Enterprise Offensive Security, his company. He tweeted that he was hiring the other day. Hopefully, when he hires, he'll have more people, and yes, that would be a good thing. Yes, Sentinel-1 tripping up on a bullzip PDF. Yeah, Sentinel-1 gets tripped up on things once in a while. Do we put pfSense in at all of our clients? Not all of them. pfSense is kind of what we use for quite a few of them. We also use Untangle, and we have other clients using different things outside of that again. Untangle is a popular other solution that we offer. I've only done a few videos on it. It doesn't seem like there's enough public interest, so to speak, in the videos on Untangle. And Untangle is also somewhat self-explanatory. And because it's for at least all the advanced features in Untangle, people want to know, hey, I want to use these advanced features. Well, that ends up coming with support because it has a license with it. And I think that's also what turns off some of the larger audiences from Untangle. To get those advanced features they're looking for, it does have an annual fee. For business, that's fine because of the filtering and functionality it offers there. It's definitely a good product, but yeah. So pfSense and Untangle and other kind of mixed and matched. Let's see. This looks suspicious. Manually monitoring Windows standard services and processes. Yeah. It's Windows, so there's that. Oh, yes. Auditing Exchange servers is just one more fire added to the pile. That is, I don't really have any solid answers to what happened with that, but it's certainly really concerning that Microsoft did not jump in and patch that. They essentially, I was hoping this wasn't true, but everything I've read so far tells me they've known this since January, and Microsoft has not stepped up and said, oh yeah, we knew it, but it was a really difficult and really challenging fix, so we sat on it for 3 months working tirelessly until we had a solution. I don't know. They have a lot of resources at their disposal. I feel as though they did not turn their resources towards fixing this in a timely manner. That's what I see from the outside. So yeah. I really got nothing else on that. So what do I think of OpnSense? OpnSense is a fork of pfSense. That's what I think of OpnSense. I haven't used it. I don't have a compelling reason to use it. One of the things from my business, external looking at it from a business standpoint, OpnSense has a lot more frequent updates. This makes the home users happy to get the cutting edge things all the time added to the system. But updating a firewall constantly is kind of a pain for businesses when you're maintaining and you're responsible to manage updates for firewalls, and there's a lot of them to do. Now you're suddenly jumping in and having more to do. So that's my thoughts on it. Rehabbing bad datacom. So I've done maybe just a couple videos on that. The big challenge is if you're dealing with a medical client, you're dealing with privacy issues. It's not like everyone wants a camera in their building talking about stuff. And it's also, this is just an unfortunate thing. If you are in the datacom room, there are stickers, there are company logos, there are IP addresses maybe taped to routers, hopefully, because that's actually nice when it's listed on there. So there's a lot of privacy concerns about just filming in a datacom. This is why the few I've done are usually new construction. Those are easy. But if we don't have permission from a client, I don't want to create an awkward situation where the client goes, you know, I don't like the fact that people know that my wiring closet looked like hell, and then you cleaned it up. Because that's awkward for us. You're thinking from the company standpoint, companies, when they like things fixed in their back end, they don't ever want you to know their back end look like that. I mean, I wish I could post the photos of one large company that, you know, we're working with to contract the disaster in there, but I can guarantee that company does not want people to know publicly what that disaster looks like back there. So that's a very tricky thing to do. Yeah, it's awkward. Like Mac Telecom Network says, it's awkward even asking them. Yeah, Windows 10 update breaks printers. Sure does. Windows 10 update certainly breaks printers. Their update process has been just, I don't know, it's getting better at all. But it is what it is. It is. You know, back to the MSP questions. One of the most common questions is the fact that. You know, like the RMM tools aren't patching properly. I'm like, no, Windows is difficult to patch. You thinking that you're going to switch from SolarWinds to ConnectWise to Kaseya to whatever backend you want to use, who's going to disappoint you this patch of updates? Microsoft is difficult to update. That's actually what people should be saying, and stop trying to switch your stack every time you see an update go wrong. They're all wrestling the same beast. It is Microsoft misbehaving because no PSA, no backend systems saved us, other than if you chose not to patch, which is not a good choice, if you chose not to patch, then you were saved and spared from some of the Windows printer problems. That was the only solution. So all of us as a collective IT administrators and managed service provider owners, have had to just deal head on with the Windows beast and the fact that it breaks. And yeah. It's partly why we're employed, is to fix those issues, because Microsoft's not going to do it. They kind of just rely on third parties to do it. It's kind of how things work with them. Yes. Oh, AS400. Ooh, yeah, that's fun. I have not had to deal with that. I used to do AIX though back in the 90s. That is one of the things I started out doing. Ooh, you see, Microsoft teaches you things. You got around to learning printer driver installs with PowerShell scripts because, you know, Microsoft broke things related to printers. Microsoft, it's not a bug, it's a feature. We'll go with that. Yes. Sometimes you think what was in the update is touching the printer when it's patched for Microsoft Edge. Oh, yes. Microsoft is long reeling from their deep integrations they had for things. It is definitely, it's definitely a lot to deal with. It keeps us busy. Let's just say that. Can you run 2 virtual machines on your Synology? One Ubuntu and one Windows? Yes. Matter of fact, I have Debian and Windows on there, but you could easily switch it out. When I was doing the virtual machine test, one was, I think actually I may have deleted it by the time I did the video, but I've run Debian virtual machines on Synology. They work fine. Ubuntu should work fine. Windows works fine. So yes, whichever virtual machine you'd like to run. More web shells. Yes. There's never enough web shells, right? The long tail of legacy is one of Microsoft's problems. Now, this is where it's become a challenge for them. So they have code that, you know, predates many of you getting into technology that is still integrated in there. They have a lot of backwards compatibility. With backwards compatibility comes lots of forward problems. And this is, you know, I remember the cursor bug that someone found out that you could hijack the cursor, and I think it was a buffer overflow. Correct me if I'm wrong. This happened a few years back, but it was amazing how many versions of Windows backwards this worked in. And I think it was Windows 7 is where they found the problem, or maybe Windows 8, but it's like, wow, there's a cursor code that was just brought forward for years and years and years with each iteration of Windows. And now this flaw goes backwards years and years and years, just like it goes forward. So there's always a lot of interesting challenges around that from Microsoft. I mean, they do have a really big challenge, but they're also a really big, wealthy company with the resources, I think, to tackle that challenge. And I think they could always do a better job of tackling it. Or in the case of the Exchange, not sitting on it for a while and making a big disaster. Can you remote them to a VPN? You can set a VPN up and you can remote things. I'm assuming the context is the Synology, so sure. I don't know what you mean, though. The Windows Edge of Insanity. Yes, that too. Yeah, no one wants to really talk about Exchange, right? We don't want to exchange ideas on that. The question was about which the DS218, which is a tiny one. Oh, I don't know if you can run. So if you don't have enough horsepower, you don't have enough processing power, so to speak. Horsepower is not actually the right term, but you don't have enough processing power on some of those lower end Synologies, you may not be able to run virtual machines on there just due to lack of memory, lack of resources to be able to run it. So yeah, that's a fun topic. Also, you know, someone had asked me in one of the other videos, like, well, someone asked me on Twitter this, and I just linked them over to Synology's website. Certain models of Synology, the smaller ones, may not have support, for example, for the, I believe it was the Office 365 backup. I didn't know, but apparently some of the older models didn't support it. But Synology has a cross-reference on their site, and that's the, I don't have that in my head memorized which models have what support. So I will defer to the Synology site at some point going, they have a cross-reference for whatever the thing you're trying to do is. Their site's well-maintained and up-to-date. As far as I know, it has all that on there. Let's see. Yeah, worked with Exchange before it was Exchange. It's been Exchange since the 90s. So back in the, you know, earlier days, I'm not sure. It used to be part of another suite. Well, not part of, it just was included with another suite. And then you had the infamous small SBS server. Oh, the small business server was one of the worst implementations of Exchange because it was just a mess. I really am happy all those servers that I ever had to deal with have been retired. I'm positive there's still some spinning somewhere, and they shouldn't be. Those are long since deprecated. And those are really interesting. Microsoft came up with their small business server program, which I believe I don't think they have anything that's really an equivalent today of it, but it was a way to mash everything together into one box and then not do it in the best way possible. So it was always difficult to manage and difficult when it had problems. Yeah. SBS, that was, yeah. Okay, so the first version was called Exchange Server 4.0. When did Exchange Server 4.0 get released? So, Wiki... Oh, nope, I'm doing it all wrong here. Wiki... Exchange Server. Let's look at the history of Microsoft Exchange. When did all this happen? Current version, controversy... Third party, where's this first version? At least 2000. 1996. So Exchange Server 4.0 was 1996. I moved my head out of the way so you can read that, but yes. Microsoft has sold a number of simple email products before, but the release of Exchange Server 4.0 was in March of 1996. Wow. That has been around for a long time. Cool. That's the history of that. Back over to the live stream here. All right, what else do we have? Back when Bill Gates, yeah, back in the Gates days. What else do we have in here? Docker Synology is more efficient than... Docker is more efficient in general than running virtual machines. So yeah, that's definitely the truth there. That Docker, I don't think I've done a video on this, but we will be addressing it in Home Lab, Docker versus virtual machines, or just a general talk about containerization. So that is slated for a Home Lab show. Me and Jay have mentioned it before. We know it's a solid topic that certainly people want to dive into. So containerization and the Docker that is built into Synology is going to be an efficient way to get services up and running on there. So definitely that'll be a topic we'll be covering. I imagine a bunch of you are also followers of the Home Lab show, just throwing it out there as a guess. So, ooh, you learned how to make your own Docker images. Yes. One of the problems, and I've mentioned this before, is figuring out who made your Docker image and should you trust them. I thought about that as a video topic. It sounds kind of clickbaity, but I think it brings up a real issue where I see a lot of people very blindly going, I'll just pull things from Docker, but who built that Docker image? You know, I've kind of toyed around and ranted a little bit here on the channel, on my live streams about it before, but I thought making, it's a realistic video. You need to know who is doing what with the software that you're running. Is it someone's hobby project? Does this person have the goal? And think about this, because this does happen sometimes, of building up a project to becoming popular, and maybe they sell that project to someone else, and when that someone else gets a hold of it, they go, hey, guess what I can do? Push a bunch of crypto miners into a Docker image that's really popular, and now everyone becomes my mining farm. Ha ha ha. I don't know. I definitely would be concerned about that. You have to really think about the software supply chain. I did a video talking about the supply chain and the dependency confusion issues, and that has grown exponentially worse. And the Linux Foundation had a really good announcement about this. I do have a video that I might do on the topic. I tweeted it. It's basically the new signature system, and it's a way to do code signing to make sure we know the author did this, who the author was that did this, who made these changes, so we understand the build pipeline and software development better with a chain of trust. This is something pretty cool that is, let me find the Linux Foundation announcement. Linux, actually, I closed that window already. It's in my history because I was reading it on this laptop. There we go. Let's open up that link and talk about this really quick, because this is something really cool. This is how you solve some of these problems with the supply chain. And there we go. Make myself a little smaller. Linux Foundation announces free SigStore signing service to confirm origin and authenticity of software. And this is a direct response to problems faced in the software world for supply chain attacks, and making sure we authenticate how code was changed and by who it was changed. And so this is a pretty exciting announcement, and they made it relatively easy because they based it on existing technologies. They didn't reinvent the wheel. They bolted on stuff to be able to do code signing in a pretty solid way with a nonprofit public good software signing transparency service. And picture, and I think Google worded it this way as well as many others kind of look at it. This is Let's Encrypt, the same kind of public with a full transparent log of how certificates were issued, but done for code signing. So it creates a key essentially, so a coder can sign that they did something, that they made this change. And you can find it at SigStore, SIGSTORE.dev, where they dive into the explaining of it. I think that's going to be really helpful in the future, because we really need to get a handle on the software supply chain to help minimize and mitigate potential attacks there. So yeah, that's definitely, it's definitely really cool that they're doing a lot of that. Is Docker available for ARM? I believe so. I believe there are some containerization projects for ARM. Jay may have covered some of that. Yes, they used a lot of existing tools, GPG, PGP, they're using a lot of the same tools to do this code signing over with that signing system that the Linux Foundation is sponsoring, the sigstore.dev. That's a huge piece of it. They're not trying to disrupt the workflow, because if you do come up with some incredibly different process, you will have a slower adoption of it. And of course, that's not the goal. This is why Let's Encrypt is not just a free certificate service, but Let's Encrypt, and it is a separate tool, but it is a tool they use, the Acme system, the automated certificate management engine that deploys these certificates. It's actually not tied only to Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt started as a service. The Acme system will facilitate automating your certificates. That you can also do this over DNS. There's numerous different ways to do this, but it is not locked and exclusive to Let's Encrypt certificates. That same tooling can be easily modified. It's open source. You can plug in other services. And I don't know for sure, but I think someone said that DigiCert is offering Acme as well. So there are more places that are going to be able to do this. And I think that's going to be exciting at some point where that happens. So, what else is in there? I'm starting to catch up on the comments on there. Can you say CCleaner? I haven't seen CCleaner in a while, but CCleaner is cool. I don't do a lot of my company does, but I do not touch a lot of Windows systems. Yes, Jay from Learn Linux TV does have a lot of videos. When I do say Jay, I do mean Jay from Learn Linux TV. Sorry if I didn't say that in its entirety. But if you look for learnlinux.tv, which is the website, or just punch that into YouTube, and you can find all of his videos on a lot of those topics. Do we have a documentation system? Yes, we use a wiki for documentation, internal, with 2FA and not publicly accessible. That question comes up because people ask about, well, how do you share your documentation with your clients? At this point in time, we do not have a co-opted system where we create documentation and our clients have access to it. And for passwords, we use Bitwarden, because that's usually the next question that comes up out of that. So Bitwarden's our password management system, and Wiki's our documentation system. Do UBQ switches have a REST API? I'm assuming you mean Ubiquiti. Ubiquiti does not. Ubiquiti has an interface that you can use their software to manage that system. Willie Howe does have an OpnSense video. I've seen you repeat that a couple times. We are aware. You can search for OpnSense videos. There's actually not many people that made them. Willie has made them. Yes, we actually did self-host Bitwarden. I like the Bitwarden self-hosted. It adds one more layer because we're managing it internally that you have to get through to even attempt to log into Bitwarden. It's just one of those things that the more layers you can put behind Bitwarden where all your passwords are, it feels better because we have passwords to a lot of things in there. Those losing control of those passwords would be bad. Really, really bad. Therefore, I do a lot to secure those passwords because that would be bad. Let's leave it at that. It would be a less than ideal situation, suboptimal. So, is it easy to make backups of Bitwarden? I would say, yeah, that's actually really easy. The Bitwarden software itself has the out-of-the-box configuration of it is an automatic backup that it has where it creates files. So you can back up the encrypted database. You can back up the entirety of Bitwarden, or you may export data out of your Bitwarden to a file as well. So you can back it up like through the Bitwarden tools, whether that be the desktop application or the browser plugin. But from the backend side, we back up the whole virtual machine that is Bitwarden, and we have data backups that we do. So there's when Bitwarden does its own backup and creates a backup file, we do have a way at which we back up that file. We use Bitwarden and their Docker implementation. Their Docker implementation is nice. It's well done. It prunes properly, so it does not leave a bunch of old ones when there's updates. It's all modularized and keeps the data in one spot and maps all the data storage to the Docker images in a seemingly seamless and proper way. Since we've had it a year, it works great. So yeah, I did a I did a video on running self-hosted Bitwarden. You just run it. Their installer is nothing to it. I even did a video on how to update it. So I've got videos on it. Matter of fact, those videos don't have a lot of views, and it says how to update a Bitwarden Docker. And not many people view it because it's kind of a boring video, to be honest. Their updater works really well, which makes for boring videos when the instructions are Bitwarden update. All right, there you go, man. It's updated. Look at that. It did it on its own. And it even has pauses in there waiting for the database to start, so it doesn't try to start services before the database starts. So yeah, it's not a real exciting video, which is good. I like when my password manager doesn't have my heart racing. I don't know what privacy idea is. So no, I haven't looked at privacy idea. Yeah, you can. That's a nice thing is when you're pulling from their Docker, you can limit the Bitwarden quite a bit to only certain places, so it's not wandering around the internet for things. So yeah, if you just type in Bitwarden on my channel, you'll see the videos I have on the topic. I haven't tried, but I imagine Synology Docker would work well with Bitwarden. You know, Synology's got Docker support and it can pull from the Docker hub. So yeah, that seems like a pretty simple on there. YubiKeys. YubiKeys are really cool. I have not done a video on it. Chris did a video that's really popular on it. Chris from Crosstalk Solutions. I've thought about deploying them. They're nice. I really am a big fan of TOTP. So that's still majority of what I use. For things, you know, the rolling numbers, the TOTP numbers for time-based authentication. And but the YubiKey I think is a really interesting and extra layer of security you can use on things. I don't know. I've been playing with it. I haven't really gotten into switching everything over to it. Maybe I have nothing against it for sure. Let's see. Have you been made aware of the WireGuard thumb typo? Let's see. You know, typos help with engagement. That's what I decided, because instead of how to run my IT business, let's see. Someone is undoubtedly. What did I misspell? Did I misspell WireGuard? Stop using WireGuard, G-U-A-R-D, G-U-A-R-D. Stop using. What's the typo? Here, let's look together, folks. This is the stats page for it. Stop, S-T-O-P-U-S-I-N-G, W-I-R-E, G-U-A-R-D. Did I spell guard wrong? That's how you spell guard, isn't it? So where's the typo? WireGuard removed from pfSense March 2021. Let's go to the comments. That's where it's at, right? If we go back over here. What's in the comments? Probably someone's going to comment. This is what I do, is read the comments occasionally. That's a rectangle, not a square. Okay. There's always someone that has fun comments in all my videos, right? Let's see. Misleading and misspell. Removed. Did I spell removed wrong? All right, now I'll go to your comments so you can tell me what I... oh, there's an extra R. WireGuard. Okay. Not. Oh, okay. Cool. All right, I'll fix that later. Misleading and misspelled title. That is now my favorite comment. Let me heart that. And it's not misleading, by the way. pfSense said not to use WireGuard. I don't know. I literally copied the title of their blog post. So, yeah. So anyways, I knew there'd be all kinds of fun in this. How many views? That video's been up for an hour. Here's all the views on it. Oh, 2,000 views. Here's, I'll scroll so you can see. This is what I look at on the back end here, just so you guys that are curious. This is what the YouTube Studio Manager looks like behind the scenes. Not that exciting, actually. Anyways, okay, I'll fix the typo when I'm done with this. Typo in the thumbnail, XR and WireGuard. I said that the other day. You know, I'm about to start misspelling things because YouTube measures engagement. And the engagement they measure are things like people commenting. When Tom typed how to ruin his IT business instead of how I run my IT business, completely was a typo. I'll be honest. I did not say ruining my IT business, but I did type that apparently. And the comments right away were all, haha, ruining a business. I'm like, you know, I how to ruin a YouTube video. I went ahead and fixed it, but it was fun because of all the engagement I got. So maybe better than clickbait is typo bait. Is typo bait a thing? We're gonna make that a thing. You just typo things. So we're just gonna start typoing things so that compels people to comment and drives up my YouTube engagement and also makes people think Tom can't spell. And then I'll say, oh, I forgot the right spelling in English for that, because that's a better answer than I misspelled things, because now it makes people think I'm bilingual. I'm not. I only speak English and I don't speak it well. But if I say it that way, doesn't it sound smarter? Clickbait and nuance. Isn't that fun? I thought about talking about one of the things you can do, and I may do this. This is at least worthy. You can turn on the WatchGuard service inside of pfSense and tell it to restart unbound. That's a workaround if you're having some of the unbound problems. The unbound problems are really confusing because they're not consistent. So there's a lot of rewriting going on over at Netgate to try and solve them, because they're kind of strange the way they're happening. So besides the unbound issue, there is a gateway problem. There's a few issues that we've run into doing these upgrades, and I just haven't had the time to really sit down and put something concise together about them. But yeah, there's enough forum posts, and people that are going through the upgrade, the forum posts have been very detailed on these problems. So that's why I haven't really done a video. And it's also kind of weird to do a video like, hey, unbound crashing, run WatchGuard. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. The video needs to have some more depth or content. And because that's really the short answer, WireGuard seems, not WireGuard, WireGuard's broken. But unbound crashes, restart unbound with WatchGuard tool. I don't know. Should I make a 2-minute video? And that's been the response in comments. So yeah. Anyways. What else do we have in here? Color versus color. To spell things in British. Well, technically, I mean, I don't have the accent, but I kind of could speak British. There's not much difference between our languages. The English version, our English versus the other English. Typo bait's going to be my new thing. I like that a lot. Yeah, 232 people hit the like button. I said that at the beginning, say it again now. Let's see. What else do we have here? Just laughing at the typo bait still. It's got me amused. I was starting to conflate things. Service WatchGuard, don't run. Service Watchdog, do run. Maybe we can spin up we'll turn this into a pfSense tutorial, right? If I go here and log into this, and then hold on. I gotta see if I have what do I have? I have a really long password to type. All right. So I typed a really long password that is in my head, so I can sign into things. So we can spin up pfSense so we can log into it. So we can do this and this. This is what I'm doing. And then we can show you how to do it. But maybe I will do a video on that specific topic, because it's not hard to load that tool on there and tell it to restart services. It's not a proper workaround by any means. But, you know, the fact that unbound is stopping and then you can restart it. And it kind of seems to be dependent on if you're running PF blocker, and a lot of people are. So yeah, definitely some issues and things like that that need to be addressed. I did get another request on LinkedIn. Someone I was talking with over in Europe said the same thing. Hey, can we dive into fixing some of this? Like, can you mention it in a video? I'm like, yeah, this is, you know, I said the same suggestion. I usually suggest like turn on WatchGuard, but I do want to address the issues. I'm just trying to make the video concise and helpful. That's the most important when I make these, is I want to be valuable content. Oh, of course, some people are going to complain that the video is misrepresented. I literally said in the title of the video that pfSense said to stop using WireGuard, or did I say Netgate? Which one does it say? Let me read the exact title. The exact title is WireGuard removed from pfSense. And then I say Netgate felt as though it needed a code review and it's been removed from pfSense. And I said the Netgate sponsored code. I did not say WireGuard. But of course, immediately people are like, you're conflating and making people think it's WireGuard. I'm like, how? There's no way if I mention the two in a sentence that there are not some people that will drop words out of their head and reassemble them in a new way that represents something different than what I said. I don't think there's any way I could make it so where that won't happen. That's just the nature of communication. Talking's hard, so it's definitely a challenge. Let's see. So unbound stops for you when there's an upset on the WAN side. That's interesting. If you passed away tomorrow, who would run the company? The people here. I'm not that important. They have a rubber stamp. They could stamp my name on things. The payroll actually happens without me. So I don't do the bank deposits. I don't put the checks in the system. So the business actually doesn't, no one would make YouTube videos if I died. That part is not, there's no plan B for that. So for those of you wondering the business plan, so yeah. Yeah. As one of my staff just said, we'd have a nice funeral then close. But not before taking the money out of the accounts and things like that, probably. No, they would probably not let my son take over. Vision, so there's no easy answer ever. Whoever runs the company is the one who would provide the vision and direction. So is there a direct successor picked out, you know, who's going to be the new king or queen of Lawrence Systems? No, there is not. So my son is not that person. I don't think he's that into tech right now. He's also quite young. So no, that has not been, yes, that's for, yeah, there's a pizza fund. So no, my son is by far not going to take over the company. That would be a disservice to my clients at this time. I love my son dearly, but I don't think he's ready to run a company. I'll be very honest. So we're still trying to get him to do his homework. So that's so important. Bad mouthing the boss's son. No. We all have a great time because my son, he does because of the situations that occurred in 2020 and have carried into 2021, my son's schooling is split part-time to being here and the other part of the time in person in school. So yes. Hey, thank you very much for the donation. It is greatly appreciated. Yeah, that would be great. How I made my first million. I sold Dad's company. You know, when I was making the business video, one of the things that I actually shot it more than once. That happens occasionally because I'll jump on a soapbox occasionally. And I don't like so many of the business articles that come out. And there was one of them right here in Detroit that was really cringy. And it was trying to brag on the excess of this young person who had all this wonderful success with their new company they started. And two things were kind of glossed over very quickly. It was just so, if you're in the know, so to speak, it became really apparent how awful this article was. They were really putting a shine on, look at this beautiful entrepreneur who has done so much and achieved at such a young age, this incredible feat of landing this large company that's worth $1 billion that his dad owns. Cool. He landed the social media and marketing contract at his dad's company. I'm not saying he didn't put some work in. It's just really tainted by, you didn't land it. You prepared a company with all the resources, and your dad, by the way, is worth like $4 billion. So it's not some small company either. So you landing it at a young age, you didn't land it, you were born into it. And those articles, I don't have anything against someone who was born the son of a billionaire. That's not where the issue is at all. I take issue when there is a implication that anyone can do this as long as you're born the son of a billionaire, which is the said not said. So that's that's been one of those little things that I like to do a tutorial on business to talk about realities of things, to help someone, to tell you how it can be done, to show you that, yes, this may be difficult. These are some methods you can use to achieve this or this process or this goal. I want to make it very tutorial oriented and show you something, teach you something, not go, well, you can do it. All you had to do was be born the son of a billionaire and you can achieve a social media company that lands big contracts. That's not helpful to anyone. And the same thing with a lot of business articles are like that. They brag about some MSP achieving a goal, but give you nothing about how they got there. There's not any details behind it. Like, oh, look, they have this many customers, and you end up with a very generic article. They went and shook some hands with people. They networked. They did very vague overview. Because there's another MSP that, had a nice write-up, but there's not a nice write-up, I guess. There's no depth to some of those write-ups. This happens in a lot of the large publications and magazines. And it's because they need something to write about. And we do like to celebrate our friends who are successful. But if you're trying to do it from a different perspective, like I am, trying to teach people how to do it, those articles don't really tell you anything other than certain person achieved level of success. And that's why I try to make that a, my goal when I'm creating a lot of this content. Let's see. Oh, have I considered Floatplane? I applied and was denied. So a little bit about that. The more I think about it, the more thought I put into, since a couple of videos ago I talked about being applied and denied at Floatplane. I don't know that my audience, you got to kind of figure out where your audiences are. The Linus audience and some of the other people that are on Floatplane are also people who cater to the same audience that Linus does, which is going to be a lot of PC enthusiasts, a lot of the gaming market and things like that, which is awesome. But the other side of that is, does Tom's content resonate with those people? Because that's why Floatplane would or would not want me on there, because they don't want more people on there that are not going to resonate with the audience, because now it's not valuable for anyone involved. So yeah, I'm not really sure if there's as big of a crossover between my audience and his audience to make that really worthwhile. Thank you. We have here Napping Geek. Thank you very much for the donation. Maybe a tutorial video on setting up a chunk of public IPv6 VM after buying them from ARPA. Sorry, I don't use IPv6. So the donation is much appreciated, but sorry, I'm just not much of an IPv6 person. So I don't do content on it because I'm not well versed in it. I've been putting my head in the sand and been lucky. Someone's going to complain. Someone's going to get the caps lock out and complain about that. That's fine. I take a lot of heat for it, but I know IPv6 is the future. I've been hearing that for years and years and years at conferences, at talks, at all kinds of events. But I can somehow tell you that it's there in certain aspects of things, but it's not mainstream. Although, yes, I know it's mainstream on the phone systems. Phones have a back end of IPv6, and so do a lot of other things that are deployed in mass. But yeah, not likely. I just don't have any plans right now to do an IPv6 video. Let's see. What else do we have here? Dig your head out and embrace it. Yes. I'm assuming you mean IPv6. So I'd say you definitely wouldn't be out of place in Floatplane. I don't know. I probably should reach out to, we have a similar audience, but not the same, Craft Computing. I talk to him now and then directly. He's great. And one of the things, he's gotten more into the server side and he's become more popular amongst my audience. But when I brought up servers when I was on his live stream, boy, people are like, get back to the gaming stuff, get back to the video card talk. The audience he seems to have curated seemed to be more leaning towards that, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and that's fine. And I know that's where he was, and there's a lot more popularity, so to speak, in terms of quantity of people in that topic. So I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Well, I'd have to reach out. They're opening up the creators allowed to Floatplane. Okay, maybe I'll apply again. I don't know. They have not reached back out to me. We'll throw that out there. Do you have any good YouTubers on IPv6? Nope, not that I can think of. Yes, Craft Computing has certainly leveled up quite a bit on his home lab stuff. And me and Jay from Learn Linux TV with our home lab show, he's among the people that we want to invite on at some point for an episode because he's done some really solid videos. He's really had some great content on his low budget server builds. He's really, since he's went YouTube full time, it's been great watching the amount of content he's been able to produce and things like that. So I really can't say enough good things about his channel. He's got a lot of good tutorials, a lot of good content, and he's dove into the server side and I think brought a lot more people interested in it, which is awesome. Yeah, I definitely, and this is where have a different, and I did this in my business video. One of the differentiators is there's people reviewing something like, hey, check out this, or let's talk about this. Well, that's fine, but how long was this in use? And that's where, when I'm talking about something, I can do that longer term, what it's like a year later, 2 years later. Did that firmware update cause drama? You deployed like 300 or 400 of these units. What did that turn out like? And that's why I like doing these follow-up videos and scenario videos where we deployed Wi-Fi, where we deployed switches, because reviewing the switch is one thing. Telling you what the switch looks like after it's been in service for a while is way more helpful and way harder to find out without people like me sharing that information. This is one of the things I look at that kind of does distinguish me from some of the other YouTubers, and why I've actually reached out and talked to other MSPs and tried to encourage them to talk about things, because it gives a insider's perspective. And that's ultimately what people, I think, really would like to know. Not just, is this a good buy, this cup, Tom? What's it like to drink out of this cup for a year? There's a better thing that we want to know. Not just when you unboxed it, was it good? Did it continue to function, or did the battery die in it? There's no battery in it though. So I try to bring that value a lot. And this is something that's important to me, is the real world use of these things. Also, real world use is very different than lab use, very different than I tested it for a video use, because some things get tested and then because the person doesn't actually work in the business anymore. And, this is a lot of YouTubers, they may leave their technical job where they were doing real world use. And when they leave that job, they're not deploying it anymore as a business. They're just using it and sharing experience of how they used it in the past, but there comes a divergence at that point. If I were to not have this business, for example, I would end up diverging from the use cases unless I continuously did consulting in the field. Now, because I'm actively running a business and consulting and designing and following up on these design and consulting projects, because we have long-term engagements with clients, I can give you longer-term usage data on the different tools and products we use. And we're using them because they work. That is the first hint. If I'm still using a product a year later, that's because it still works. If I stop using the product, that's because they may be mad and it doesn't work. So I think that's a lot of it. Is this the rooster sauce? Yes, this is the kickin' chicken. This is the Sriracha Chili Cup. I give this a 5-star review, 5 out of 5, because it's green inside. It's got tea in it. I'm just drinking tea. There's no alcohol in here, in case that seems to come up once in a while. What's in the cup, Tom? No alcohol. I drink tea throughout the day a lot. I drink coffee in the morning and tea during the day. My daughter got me this for Christmas. I don't even know where she got it from. Oh, let's see. Swinging down here and reading all of it. Is there any tech reviews, or is IT security YouTubers podcast except how they get hacked you recommend? The Huntress people are awesome. John Hammond, who works at Huntress, but also, see, John is a perfect convergence. He works threat hunting at Huntress. He has a YouTube channel about threat hunting, not theoretical threat hunting, but solid work and reconnaissance. So he, different side, he's not reviewing firewalls, but he is out there producing content. John Hammond's awesome, so definitely a shout out to him. His channel's been great. I've done videos with Huntress and the team there, including stuff with John Hammond. Also, Hack5, they've been around for a long time. They do some good news content. I haven't followed them as much. I don't think they're producing as much content, so I still subscribe to their channel. I haven't seen as much from their channel, so I don't know if they're not posting as much, or did the YouTube algorithm break and go, Tom doesn't like them as much as we thought. Sometimes they can be challenging on that. I also don't spend a ton of time watching TV or watching YouTube. So it's harder for me to tell you which ones are the best ones because it's not something I spend as much time doing. I do like Level 1 Techs. I brought them up many times. But yeah, at some point I will probably maybe make a collective links of things I watch and stuff like that. I'd listen to more podcasts, and I've brought that up a few times. I think I have a list of some of the podcasts that I've talked about, but you can't go wrong with Risky Business, Darknet Diaries, Security Now from Steve Gibson. Those are all great podcasts. Bad Voltage is pretty good. And if you have time, there's a few other ones that I probably sit out there. I think there's Smashing Security. I haven't listened to that one in a long time. But I know it's in my list. At one point, I guess I did listen to it. I subscribe to way more things than I actually listen to in here. It's hard to keep up with. I can't keep up with as many podcasts that are on here. I try, though. I go for walks to try to take a break and put the headphones on. Oh, yes, new voicemails. Good. I haven't had any... They're pfSense and the latest OpenVPN have been a little bit less of an issue. There were some changes you may have to make. I think there were some deprecated functions in terms of if you were using certain protocols, if you were using I can't remember which one it was, you may just have to switch your OpenVPN to use a different protocol. I think that's the only thing that had to be done. I got to get the details on that so I can do that. Have I seen the Sriracha documentary? I think I did a long time ago, but there's more than one. There's a couple short ones on YouTube, and I watched one or two of those. It's interesting. Best podcast for network stuff is Heavy Networking in Spotify. Okay. I hate Spotify, but I'm just annoyed by it, I should say. The stuff on Spotify, they have too many extra ad inserts, but I don't know. And of course, you can subscribe to another service, but I'm already paying sometimes. So I use, what am I using? Currently, I use, what is this tool called? Pocket Cast Plus. I use that. And then things like Darknet Diaries and other podcasts, I subscribe to their Patreon and I put their feeds in here. And I don't want more ads added. I pay Patreon to podcasters like Darknet Diaries so I can get a custom feed without the extras. So anyways, hey, awesome. Welcome. First time on live. There's one on Amazon Prime Video. I do have Amazon Prime Video, so I might watch that. That's something I'll watch, is a sriracha documentary. I certainly like the spicy. Let's see. Yeah, I don't use iOS, so because I use Pocket Cast, it's native to, and I don't know if there's an iOS version of Pocket Cast. One of the cool things about Pocket Cast, they were doing this prior to the ability you have now to do it with the Google version, but you can synchronize it. So if I'm listening to a podcast on my phone, it synchronizes with their web interface, so I can pause it on my phone, go sit down at my computer, and just pick it right back up through the web interface. I actually like that quite a bit. They were doing it before other companies were, and I think a lot of places probably have that feature now to be able to pick up your podcast on another device, and it keeps them all synchronized. But once you've got it set up, and I already bought it forever ago, yeah. Packet pushers, yeah, I think that's another. I've heard of them too. I think it's in my list. I don't recall if I've actually listened to it. That's always one of the problems, is there's so much content out there, and curating it becomes its own challenge because everyone's getting into podcasts, including me. I'm getting again into podcasts because I have the Home Lab show, which is we're turning into a podcast. So that's always the challenge. Well, it's not. It's the ad inserts. It's not the application that causes the ad, but Spotify. I believe it's something Spotify seems to be doing. They are dropping in ads as you're listening to it. That is, I mean, I don't mind. I understand the ads, and I understand the value they create, so you can actually pay for the content. That's fine. And the ad reads. I also like when companies or podcast groups, not necessarily has to be a business, but when a podcaster produces content that they offer on Patreon for an ad-free experience. Cool. Here's some money. And that's fine. But then if you're listening through some of the other tools and they insert ads again further, that can be annoying. So yeah. Yes. That's why they bought Joe Rogan, for sure, because they knew he had an audience and they knew people would follow him over there. The fact that they kind of put Joe in a walled garden on Spotify, meaning you had to get the Spotify app if you want to listen to Joe, and because he had 100 million people listening, or whatever that number is, some huge number of followers that he has, smart move on Spotify. I get why they did it. I get why they made him exclusive on there. I am on the X250 because I've been leaving the L480 at home. So I still have this. It's become the dedicated studio laptop. It works great. Nothing wrong with it. So it sits here in the studio, and now I don't have to take a laptop back and forth. The L480 is all I use at home. That's my only computer at home for doing work stuff. Let's see. What else do we have here? Is Wi-Fi calling getting bigger in the US? Maybe, probably. As long as you have a good connection. I use Google Fi, and Google Fi supports it. What's my thoughts on minimalism? I love minimalism, so that's my thoughts on minimalism. Hard to do, easy to say. Suggestion for syncing Pop! OS home folders. You could use SyncThing. I like SyncThing. I don't synchronize my home folder. I only synchronize the data that I care about, certain documents. But yeah, +1 for minimalism. We'll go for that. But wait, if too many people +1 and a number gets big, is it a minimal number anymore? Thoughts of having incomplete projects everywhere. That's anxiety. That's no, I don't like incomplete projects anywhere. I like to keep projects not incomplete. I like to work towards projects, even though I may work on multiple projects at a time. I'm constantly working towards a goal. Pittsburgh toilets. Are they minimalism? Yes, because you're not building walls or anything, so you can just sit in the middle of a basement where a Pittsburgh toilet is. So yes, no walls. Absolutely minimal. Ooh, yes. I'm enjoying how strong this tea is because it's towards the end, so now I can't tilt it enough without probably... All right, we didn't spill it. We're good. But yes, the tea is super tasty right now. This is a licorice tea. So yes. I do not do any crypto mining, sorry. I'm not the person to ask about crypto mining. Not my thing. What else do we have? We're down to the end. I am going to wander off here at some point because it is time for me to go do some other stuff. I have to go fix a typo, but the typo is creating engagement. But there comes a time when typo engagement is really high, and then people go, well, 30 people have commented. Do I need to be the 40th person, 50th person, 60th person to comment? I don't know. At some point, it probably does die off. So, have I had Yorkshire tea? Maybe. I don't know it by Yorkshire tea. Is it have another name? If it's called only Yorkshire tea and it's a very unique thing, I don't know what it is. But this is America, so we may call it something different here. I've had quite a few different teas. I definitely enjoy mostly non-caffeinated teas, by the way. Tea, Earl Grey hot. Yes, absolutely. From my favorite captain. Yorkshire tea is the only acceptable one for the UK. If I go to the UK, I will make sure to get Yorkshire tea. Okay, so Yorkshire is a brand. Is it as good here? Is it like there's actually a funny... I didn't watch much of it. Just a couple of them popped up because I watched some food stuff. I like binging with Babish, for example. So sometimes it suggests other videos. I've had the juxtaposition of a person from the UK living here. There's a channel, I don't remember his name. I think it's called like Lost in a Pond. But he talks about different food items and how they differ here in the United States versus over there. That's always kind of interesting because some things may have the same name, but they may have a different version of it here. That may be diluted or not as good. So that's always fun to talk about. It would be nice if you did a new video. What's wrong with my old video on setting up pfSense and FreeRadius? To my knowledge, nothing. So if there's nothing wrong with it, if there's not a reason, like there's going to be some nuanced changes between the interface, but I don't think there's anything so changed that I need to do a video on it. So the video, as far as I know, the old one works. So I'm probably not going to do a new one right away. I have other ones that are going to, I'm probably going to be doing other videos first. The priority goes videos that are the most helpful, and older videos don't get redone unless there's a dramatic change in the software that means it needs to be redone. We're using FreeRadius and OpenVPN in version 2.5 and not having any problems with it. So I would say, yes, it works fine to my knowledge because it works for us and people that we've talked to that have upgraded that are also using it. Yeah, I'm still using Zabbix. We don't have a ton of things we monitor with Zabbix, but yes, we do use it still, just not extensively. Most of our stuff is monitoring Windows machines, and we don't use Zabbix for that. Also, someone said, what about endpoint backup solutions? We're still using the enable SolarWinds / enable or branding and changing names, but we still use that for our endpoint backups. That's the more popular solution, I should say. Yes, we deal with enterprise storage. Cool ideas and tips provided through the channel and Italian IT admin. You're an Italian IT admin in Germany. Thank you for the donation, Lorenzo, and awesome. Cheers for sure. Oh yes, I haven't figured out a concise way to do it, because even Jay, who is a better Linux admin from Learn Linux TV, he found the whole media wiki thing to be difficult to update. I haven't had the time to do a video on how to update it, because when you run the updates, everything broke, and then I messed with it for an hour until it worked. So what I did was a lot of things and read a lot of documentation, but I did not have the time to turn that into a video to figure out what I had to do to make it work. So I don't know when I'm going to do a new video on it. I'm actually looking for a better solution than the current one. So for now, yes, I'm using MediaWiki, but yes, it's bad when it comes to updates. It doesn't go smooth. Until there's a smoother way to update it that doesn't require a lot of crazy forum posts and a lot of stupid problems being solved, then yeah. Then I'll do an updated video on it. Backblaze is pretty cool too, yes. Here's the thing, it doesn't always break the instance. The point release fixed some of the, when they first integrated, that was where the problem was. When they first had the integration of Visual Editor with the new MediaWiki, the first iteration had a lot of things that didn't work properly. They fixed it with a point release on there, so it got better. And I thought about revisiting to see if I did a clean install, if it would be better. And maybe that's something, like I said, it's on my to-do list, but I've been looking for a better and trying out different systems, and none of them so far I liked enough to say that I should use them. So it's on my to-do list to look at other stuff. I haven't really had time. I'm only one person right now doing this, so that's a big piece of it, is, even Jay, we collaborate on videos, but there's still a lot that has to be done. And in between, I still run a business, as I had stated earlier, so there's a lot of that. Do you have any videos on X server or VNC server? Nope, and don't plan to do any on those. Jay probably has a couple X server videos, but I guess I don't know what you're looking to do. I do have some videos on using X2Go. So I have X2Go videos on my channel, but nothing else. I don't use VNC, so... I mean, feel free, if you have build notes for building it from scratch to avoid some of the problems, feel free to post them in my forums. That would be very helpful. So yeah, if you have build notes on it, great. I've been looking for someone who actually, my friend talked about doing it and he got sidetracked, writing a good Ansible playbook or something so you can just build it in a very automated way. I would love it if someone took the time to do something nice and built a solid wiki with a deploy script. The Wiki Foundation, I'm surprised, doesn't have something like that. For as popular of a project as it is, and it's in use all over the place, they just don't seem to have the best installers for things. Yeah, maybe that'll change, but right now that's where we're at. Anyways, I'm going to wind this down. Any final questions before I get to the end of this? I'm at the end of my tea. I have a typo to go correct, and I think that's about it. UniFi devices, Backblaze. I will be doing a video soon on TrueNAS and backing it up to Backblaze. I will be talking about some cloud stuff, so... what else do we have? All right, well, thank you, Nick. If you can post that in my forums, that would be very helpful. That if you have a reproducible process by which to get Wiki automatically installed, that would definitely be good. How will you back up the 45 drives? I have not decided yet. That's an unknown, but I do have to get back to working on the review for it. That is a project I need to get finished. I'm a lot further along than I was. I've got a much deeper understanding of it. It's running Ubuntu. I'm excited to do videos on the 45 drives, but that means I got to go back to turning it back on and playing with it. Matter of fact, we'll fire it up right now. I don't know if that even comes through in the microphone. It's actually relatively quiet. This is their Q30 Storinator, and it's relatively quiet, so yeah. Yes, you can install MediaWiki with Docker Compose, but who maintains the Docker images for those? I don't remember who does. Is it maintained by someone or is it maintained by MediaWiki? That's an important distinction when you look at the Docker one. Okay, so MediaWiki does maintain it themselves. Okay, I may look into that because there were previous people had mentioned doing it that way, but I don't remember it being by MediaWiki, which of course means I don't want some random Docker image holding on to all of our documentation. So that would be kind of interesting. I don't recommend. You can host multiple sites using a cloud key. I don't really recommend it. If you're going to host multiple sites, don't use a cloud key. There's my recommendation. Spin up a server or use HostiFi. All right, thank you everyone that came. Awesome. DocuWiki doesn't have 2FA. At least the last time I looked, it didn't. Did they add 2FA to DocuWiki? I don't know. That was actually some of the problems we had with a few of the wikis. We wanted a nice 2FA system, and a lot of them just don't have that as an option. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, why not? Anyways, thanks for watching, or I could go on forever. Much appreciated. Everyone take care, and I'm out of here. I got to press this little spinny button right here. Wonder what the delay is for me holding this here and then pressing the button and when it stops.